Hey everybody, today we're reading Butterfly Meadow, Twinkle and the Busy Bee, or should I say the Buzzy Bee, by Olivia Moss, illustrated by Helen Turner. But before we read, make sure to smash that like button with the hammer, subscribe to the channel, turn on notifications so you don't miss another video, and tell me in the comments below what book to make a video on next, and I will give you a special thanks in the video. You heard that right, people. Chapter 1, Mystery in the Meadow. It was a hot, sunny afternoon in Butterfly Meadow. Dazzle had found a comfortable spot on a sunflower with Skipper and Mallow, two of her butterfly friends. She was drifting into a dream about delicious nectar. Hey, you guys! Something's wrong in the meadow. Dazzle's eyes snapped open. Her friend Twinkle, a colorful peacock butterfly, zipped around the sunflower. What's happening? Dazzle asked. Twinkle was darting around so fast it made Dazzle's head spin. Nearby, Mallow fluttered her small white wings. Is it a mystery? She asked, flitting into the air. I love a good mystery. Skipper yawned. Everything looks fine to me, she said, gazing around. Twinkle, aren't you hot, racing all over the place? Twinkle didn't answer. Instead, she zoomed around the sunflower one more time. The bright colors of her wings blurred together as she flew. Well, Dazzle asked, aren't you going to tell us what's going on? I'll show you, Twinkle replied mysteriously. Follow me. Dazzle stretched out her wings and fluttered toward her friend, with Mallow close behind. Come on, Skipper, Mallow called back to the holly blue butterfly. It's not like you to miss out on an adventure. Okay, I'm coming, Skipper said, looking sleepy and flapping her pretty blue wings. Wait up. Twinkle led her friends to a thick hedge at the edge of the meadow. She glanced back, then dived down among the leaves. And here, she called. Dazzle, Skipper, and Mallow followed Twinkle, dodging branches. It was cooler out of the sun's glare, but some of the branches had thorns on them. Dazzle fluttered her pale yellow wings carefully. Just then, Twinkle stopped so suddenly that Dazzle bumped right into her. Skipper skidded into Dazzle and Mallow tumbled out of the hedge, trying to stop in time. Whoa, Mallow yelped, fluttering her wings to steady herself. Pile up! Dazzle, Twinkle, and Skipper untangled themselves, giggling. What are we doing here? Skipper asked, smoothing her crumpled antennae. I am about to show you, Twinkle replied. She pointed a wing at a cluster of flowers swaying in the grass below the hedge. There, she said. See? Dazzle peered through the leaves, but she didn't notice anything unusual. The long meadow grass was filled with wild poppies, dandelions, and thistles. What are we looking at? She whispered. I had no idea, Mallow said. Twinkle, what is this, a guessing game? Just wait, Twinkle told them. Keep watching. A grasshopper leaped into the butterfly's hiding place, almost landing right on top of Skipper. Hey, she squealed, folding her wings out of his way. The grasshopper bent its green head low. I'm sorry, it said, embarrassed. I've never met any butterflies in here before. We're solving a mystery, Mallow told the grasshopper. Excuse me, guys, Mallow told the grasshopper. Twinkle was still gazing out at the flowers. Look, there it goes again, she said. Now do you see? They all stared, even the grasshopper. One of the flowers was vibrating. That's only the wind, the grasshopper said with a laugh. Now if you excuse me, I'd better hop along. With a spring of its back legs, it leaped away. There is no wind today, Twinkle said thoughtfully. There's something happening in that flower. Dazzle and her friends slowly made their way through the hedge until they were all level with the flower. They all watched as its red petals began to shake violently. Dazzle couldn't help wondering what was going on. A faint buzzing rang in the air, and the flower shook again. Something was inside it. Dazzle glimpsed a small furry body with wings as an insect tumbled out of the flower and plunged to the ground. Dazzle hid behind Skipper. "What was that?" she whispered. "I don't know," Skipper replied, leaning out of the hedge for a better look. "There's only one way to find out," Twinkle decided. "We need to investigate. Come on." "Guys, it's the Bzzy Bee." Dazzle, Twinkle, Skipper, and Mallow flew out of the hedge and hovered above the flowers. Dazzle stayed close to her friends. Who knew what that creature could be? The grass rustled, and the butterflies heard a faint moaning. "Help me!" came a scared little voice. "Help!" A small insect with black and yellow furry stripes was rolling around in the grass. It had black legs and 2 pairs of filmy wings. "It's a bee," Dazzle said in surprise. The bee waved its short front legs when it saw Dazzle. "I'm Sting," she said. "Will you please help me?" Dazzle was just about to land beside Sting when Twinkle swooped in front of her. "Be careful," she whispered. "You know what bees are like. They have sharp stingers. She could hurt you." "Okay, guys, I want you to know bees don't hurt people. They do pollination, which is carrying pollen from a flower to another. Without bees, pretty much we wouldn't have the next generation of plants, which means no crops. And bees only sting you when they're too close to you and they feel threatened. So you guys better know that. They are not evil." Dazzle looked at Sting, struggling in the grass. She knew that bees had stingers, but she couldn't ignore an insect asking for help. She dodged Twinkle and flew down to the little bee. "What's wrong?" she asked. "Are you hurt?" "No," Sting replied, sighing, "but I'm lost. It's my first time gathering pollen for my hive, and I worked hard all day." "Look," she held up her back legs. Dazzle could see that the fine hairs on them were full of pollen. "Now I'm tired and I want to go home," the bee went on. "But I can't remember how to get back to my hive. Plus, I'm loaded down with all this pollen." "We'll help you," Skipper said kindly, hovering nearby. "Come on, fly with us. Together, I'm sure we can get you home." Sting's face lit up. She tried to launch herself into the air, but she was carrying so much pollen that she could only fly a few seconds. The little bee plummeted back down to the grass. "I'm so tired," she explained. "I don't know if I can fly anymore." "Tell you what," Twinkle said. "I'll zip around the meadow and see if I can spot any other bees. They'll be able to point out the way to your hive. Maybe they can even help you get back there." She shook her wings with a flourish. "I'm Twinkle, by the way, and these are my butterfly friends, Skipper, Dazzler, and Mallow," she said. Sting waved a leg. "Hi," she said bashfully. "Thank you all for helping me." "Here, Sting," Mallow called, landing on a nearby flower. The head of the flower dipped toward the bee. "Have some nectar while we wait for Twinkle to come back. It might give you more energy." Sting smiled and sipped the nectar gratefully with her long tongue, while Skipper and Dazzle used their wings to fan her. Dazzle exchanged an anxious glance with Skipper. She really hoped they could help the little bee get back home. A few moments later, Twinkle returned. "Sorry, Sting," she said, landing next to the bee. "I looked all around the meadow. No bees. I asked a couple of wasps and a gang of flies, but they hadn't seen your friends either. It looks like they all went back to the hive." Sting's smile faded. "I don't know what to do," she said. Tears welled in her eyes. "How will I get home now?" Dazzle grabbed some soft, springy moss to dry Sting's ears. "Hey, it's okay," she said. "We'll help you get home. All you need to do is think hard about how you got to the meadow." "That's the problem," Sting said. "I was so busy collecting pollen I didn't watch where I was going. All I know is that I live in a hollow tree covered with honeysuckle. But I don't have a clue how to get back to it. Excuse me. Chapter 4, Into the Blue. Once you've taken a rest, maybe you'll remember something if we all fly together, Skipper suggested to the little bee. Mallow wiggled her antennae, then launched into a cheer. Sting! We will find that hollow tree. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Butterflies heading to the hive. Sting smiled at Mallow's rhyme. I do feel a little better, she said. Thanks. Let's try flying together. She buzzed slowly into the air, trying hard to fly even though she was way down. The butterflies fluttered up to join her, and they set off around the meadow. Does anything look familiar? Dazzle asked, hopefully as they passed a patch of golden buttercups. Sting gazed around, then shook her head. Not really, she said. Well, let's keep going. I don't want to give up. They flew on. Do you recognize this big old tree? Skipper asked a while later, pointing it out with her wing. Well, Sting stared. She landed on a branch and looked around. Her wings slumped. Oh, I'm all mixed up, she exclaimed, and I have to get all my pollen home. I was hoping the queen bee would be proud of me for collecting so much. There must be something we can do, Skipper muttered. She sat next to Sting and fanned her wings, which sparkled in the sunshine. What a beautiful color, Twinkle murmured, looking at Skipper's pretty blue wings. Then she grinned. That's it. I always remember the colors I see along the way when I go someplace new. Sting, can you think about what colors you spotted on your way there? It might help you find your way home. Oh, good idea, Twinkle, Skipper cried. I always notice blue flowers, especially if they're the same shade as my wings. I like yellow best, Dazzle said, fluttering her pale yellow wings proudly. Mallow turned back to the honeybee. Think hard, Sting, she urged. Before you reach the meadow, what's the last color you remember seeing? Sting closed his eyes and was silent. Then her wings shook with excitement. It's working, she said. I can remember seeing blue below me as I flew. Blue everywhere. Skipper flew loops in the air. I know exactly where you were, she flied. Cornflower Valley, follow me. With a flash of her bright wings, she zoomed up and away. Dazzle, Twinkle, Chapter 5 on the Path. Dazzle, Twinkle, Mallow, and Sting took to the air behind Skipper. Sting was flying much faster as they journeyed across the meadow and all the way up Juniper Hill. Skipper paused at the top of the hill, bobbing up and down excitedly. Look, look, she cried as the others flew up behind her. There's blue everywhere down there. Dazzle gazed down into the valley. Of course, a carpet of blue cornflowers stretched below them. Sting buzzed with delight. That's it, she cried, beaming. I was definitely here before. I remember. Skipper smiled. I thought you might be talking about Cornflower Valley, she said happily. It's one of my favorite places. So now we know you came into Butterfly Meadow from this direction. But Sting didn't seem to be paying attention. She was too busy gazing at all the beautiful cornflowers. So many flowers, so much pollen to collect, she buzzed to herself. Before the butterflies realized what was happening, she was flying off towards the blooms. Sting, called Twinkle, darting after her. Stop! You can't collect more pollen now. But I've got to get as much pollen as I can, Sting replied, zooming down to the first clump of flowers. I want the queen bee to see that I'm a good worker. You are a good worker, Sting. I'm sure the queen bee knows that, Dazzle told her. But if you collect more pollen now, it will make you even heavier. The sun will be setting soon, Mallow reminded the little bee. We have to get you home before dark. Once the sun goes down, the colors will be harder to see. Sting backed away from the coneflowers. You're right, she said, sighing. I just don't want to disappoint the queen bee. She's very grand, you know. Yes, we know, Skipper said. We met her at sports day. She gave us each a touch of golden pollen on our wings, Mallow remembered, wriggling happily at the thought. Twinkle clapped her wings together. We need to keep moving, she reminded them all. Sting, you did a great job remembering the cornflowers, but what colors did you see before you got to Cornflower Valley? Sting thought hard. I remember a circle of green, she said slowly. It had white dots on it. Dazzle looked around, confused. Where could this be? Daisies in a field, she guessed. Sting shook her head. I don't think so, she said. The dots were bigger than daisies. Twinkle said. Nobody could come up with any other ideas. Does anybody know where this might be? If we can't solve this riddle, Dazzle thought, we may never find Sting's home. Chapter 6. Wake up, Sting! Suddenly, Mallow zipped high into the air, her antenna quivering. You got it, she explained, whizzing down to the others. Sting, were the white dots near the water? She asked. Yes, Sting cried, her eyes lighting up. Mallow laughed. The dots are water lilies, he explained to the butterflies. And the green must be lily pads. I think she's talking about Cowslip Pond. All the butterflies knew where that was. They had flown a relay race around the pond during sports day. Plus, the cool water was always refreshing on a hot summer day. This way, Sting, Dazzle said, fluttering into the air again. Dazzle led the colorful group through Cornflower Valley and on toward the pond. Once they arrived at the cool green water, the butterflies and Sting flew to rest in the shade of a leafy tree nearby. Phew, said Dazzle, sighing. She was hot and tired. Her wings ached, and she felt very thirsty. Where now, Sting? Is it much farther? Sting let out a yawn. I don't know, she admitted. It's been a long day, and being a worker bee is such hard work. Dazzle peered at Sting, wondering why she was talking so slowly. Then a tiny snore drifted through the air. Dazzle saw that Sting's eyes were closed. She fell asleep, Skipper said. She must be worn out, poor thing. She can't sleep now, Twinkle cried. We have to get her back to the hive before it gets dark. Sting! Sting! Time to wake up, Mallow cried. Sting didn't stir. Dazzle plucked a blade of grass and tickled the little bee's nose with it. Bzzz, Sting murmured, sleepily rubbing his nose and rolling over. She was still fast asleep. Skipper waved a sweet-smelling white petal under Sting's nose. This yummy smell will wake her up, she said. Sure enough, Sting sniffed the air, but kept right on snoozing. Sting! Wake up, little honeybee, cheered Mallow. Not even that awoke her. The four butterflies looked at one another anxiously. It'll be dark soon, Dazzle said. We won't stand a chance of helping Sting get home if we can't see where we're going. But she's so sleepy. What can we do? Chapter 7. A Helping Beak. Twinkle spread her wings wide. I know who can help us, she said, sounding excited. I'll be right back. Dazzle, Skipper, and Mallow watched her fly to the top of a tall, sturdy tree nearby. What is she doing? Skipper asked. Mallow shook her head. Who knows? Twinkle is always full of surprises. Look, she's coming back, Dazzle said as he spotted her friend's bright wings among the leaves. Who's that with her? Skipper asked, peering into the sunny sky. A creature flew down next to Twinkle. It was much larger than a butterfly, but it was hard to tell exactly what it was with the sun shining in their eyes. The creature let a loud noise as if it were laughing. The butterflies all looked at one another, bewildered. It's a bird, Skipper said as the creature drew closer. By the way, bewildered kind of means like confused. You don't know what's going on. You don't know the answer to something. Oh, it's beautiful and as colorful as a butterfly. Dazzle stared at the new arrival. With its emerald green back feathers, pale yellow underbelly, and crimson head, she had never seen Such a colorful bird. But why was it laughing at them? Twinkle landed next to her friends, followed by the bird, which bent its head in a polite bow. "This is Boom. He's a woodpecker," Twinkle announced. "He's just what we need to wake up Sting. Watch this." Boom perched on a branch close to the tree trunk and started tapping at the wood with his beak. Drrrr! His sharp beak pecked away at the wood at record speed. Dazzle could hardly think straight. The noise was so loud. Sting's eyes snapped open and she looked around wildly. "Oh, what's happening?" she cried. "Who's knocking?" Dazzle put out a comforting wing. "It's okay, Sting," she said. "Nobody's knocking. It's just Boom up there, see?" Boom gazed down, his eyes merry and bright. "Just pecking for grubs," he called to Sting with a friendly wave of his green wing. Grubs is some insect. His beak tapped against the wood so quickly it became a blur. "Now, Sting," Twinkle said loudly over Boom's pecking. "No falling asleep again. We need to get you home, remember?" "What's our next color cue?" Mallow asked. "Can you remember anything else that might help us find the way back to your hive?" Sting thought for a moment and shrugged her gauzy wings. "My hive is in a big hollow tree that's covered with honeysuckle. The honeysuckle flowers just opened. They're creamy ripe, and boy, do they smell good." Skipper said. "I don't remember seeing that tree." Dazzle shook her head. "Me neither," she said. Boom suddenly gave a cry. "I know that tree," he told them. "Hollow trees always make the best sound. Your honeysuckle tree isn't far from here. Follow me." Boom spread his glossy wings and took off into the air. "What are we waiting for?" Dazzle cried. "Let's go." She and her friends fluttered after the woodpecker. Dazzle had to flap her wings hard to keep up with the speedy bird. When she glanced back to check on Sting, she saw that the little bee was lagging behind. "Keep going, Sting," Dazzle urged. Boom led them into a nearby forest. Sting suddenly let out a joyful shout. "Hey, I recognize this place!" she cried. "I'm almost home!" Chapter 8, Home at Last. Dazzle thought Sting might burst with excitement. The bee was buzzing loudly and flying quickly now, even though she carried a lot of pollen. A tall tree with a hole in its side loomed up ahead of them. White flowers bloomed on the honeysuckle plant that covered the trunk and the branches of the tree. "Oh, thank you," Sting said, buzzing around in a circle. "It's so good to be back." "My pleasure, little buddy." Boom said goodbye. "Goodbye, everyone. Nice meeting you." "Goodbye, Boom," the butterflies and Sting called, waving their antennae as he flew away. "Try the honeysuckle nectar," Sting urged the butterflies, flying to one of the white flowers. "It tastes so good." The butterflies unrolled their long, curled tongues to sip the sweet nectar. "Ah, that's better," Skipper said after a long drink. "Thanks. Let me show you my home," Sting said, buzzing up to the hive entrance. "If you peek in from here, you won't get honey on your wings. Come and see." Dazzle and her friends hovered at the edge of the hive, peering inside. The bee's nest looked waxy and had cells leading away from the central open space. 2 worker bees stood guard at the entrance. Inside, lots of other bees rushed around, carrying nectar and pollen to feed their young. "Wow," Mallow explained. "It's so busy in there. I can smell the honey," Dazzle said, breathing in the sweet air. Excuse me. Sting bobbed up and down, looking proud of her fellow bees. Just then a large bee came out of one of the chambers and floated over to them. It was the queen bee. She had thick furry stripes on her body, and the most elegant buzz Dazzle had ever heard. "Buzz!" "There you are, Sting," the queen said. "We were so worried about you." "Where have you been?" Sting explained what had happened and told the queen bee how the butterflies had helped her find her way home. "You did a wonderful job collecting so much pollen," the queen bee told her. "You must be more careful next time." Stay with your friends and don't stray too far from the hive. Sting lowered her antennae and nodded. Of course, she said. The queen bee turned to the butterflies. I'm so grateful to you for helping Sting, she said. She's very important to us. Is there anything I can do to thank you? Twinkle dipped her wings and gave a little curtsy. I've always wanted to taste honey, she said. The queen bee smiled. Then let's get you some. One of the worker bees flew over, carrying a sticky blob of honey between her front legs. She gave each butterfly a drop to try. Ooh, said Dazzle, enjoying the sticky sweetness. It's delicious. Thank you, Skipper said gratefully. What a treat. The queen bee glanced out of the hollow. It's getting dark, she said, turning back to the butterflies. Would you like to stay here for the night? There's plenty of room nearby, even if you can't come into the hive. That's nice of you, Mallow replied, but our home is in Butterfly Meadow. If we set off right away and fly fast, we'll be able to make it there by nightfall. The queen bee nodded. There's no place like home. Thanks again, Sting said to her new friends. And goodbye. See you all again soon, I hope. Dazzle, Mallow, Skipper, and Twinkle all waved their wings before setting off for Butterfly Meadow. Dazzle felt tired as the four friends fluttered away. We flew a long way today, she said. We did, Mallow agreed. But we made a new friend, helped her out, and tasted some delicious honey. All thanks to Twinkle, spotting Sting by the hedge. I wonder what will happen tomorrow, Skipper asked. Dazzle smiled at the thought. I can't wait to find out, she said, flying through the color-streaked sky toward home. Fun fact, everybody, the sweet life of the honeybee. Sometimes insects can cause trouble. Spiders spin sticky webs. Crickets make noise. What's wrong with making noise? Flies ruin picnics. But honeybees produce something sweet and good to eat. Honey! Almost no other insect works as hard as a honeybee. Actually, all bees work very hard, everybody. Honeybees work together to maintain their hive. Each hive has one queen and thousands of worker bees, and each bee has a job to do. Some clean or protect the hive, others feed baby bees, some collect nectar from flowers, and nectar is stored in a honeycomb. And bees use their wings to dry the nectar, which leave honey behind. One hive can produce more than 60 pounds of honey a year. Bees must collect nectar from millions of flowers to make 1 pound of honey, but honeybees don't mind sharing. They produce more honey than they need. Bees can sting humans and animals to protect themselves in their hives. Each bee will only sting once. The stinger has a barb on the end that gets stuck in its victim. So watch out. Don't annoy a bee. And did you know that most bees die when they sting because their stinger gets stuck in your skin and they can't pull it out? When they pull it out, they break their body. But bumblebees can actually pull it out, and so bumblebees can sting as many times as they want. But as long as you're, nice to them and not scaring them, they shouldn't be stinging you guys. Also, there's two types of bees. There's social bees, which are the ones who have a hive, which most people know about. But you kids, you should know that there's also something called a solitary bee. A solitary bee is just a single bee who doesn't have a hive. Just one bee living alone. Just like a family of foxes, for example. And that kind of bee is always doing all the work, taking care of the young, protecting their area that they live in. And they even nest under the ground. Did you know that most bees that are native to this area, which means that, honeybees came from Europe, but native bees were actually, they were created here pretty much. And so they've been in this area for a long time. Those kind of bees called native bees are actually nesters under the ground. Do you know that, guys? Yeah. Anyways, everybody, have a great day. Again, make sure to sub to the channel, turn on notifications, and smash that like button, people. I really want that like button smashed, or I'll cry, dude. I'll cry. I'll make a video of me crying. So now, write down in the comments, what book to make a video on next, and I'll even give you a special thanks. Have a great day, everybody. Bye-bye.